The most devastating damage skill in ESO is coming to the Arcanist class. The only problem is you have to know how to use it. So as you might have guessed from the gameplay, this 1-bar Stamina Arcanist build focuses entirely on the Fatecarver Beam for insane face-melting damage. For this build, I'll show you exactly how to maximize that damage by stacking Crux. And if you like playing solo, you also have plenty of shields and healing to round out the build, all of which cost stamina, by the way, thanks to the Arcanist dynamically updating skill costs. And for group play, you can add even more damage and utility into the mix, making the build even stronger. No matter how you play the Stamina Arcanist, it's insanely easy to set up and also extremely powerful. So let's jump right into it. Alright everybody, here we are back on the public test server. Time for another Arcanist build, this time with a stamina focused, and like I said in the intro, just tons of damage coming from that beam skill. I'm going to show you how to fully empower that, and it's really good for both solo and group content. But that being said, let's jump right into the stats here real quick. 14k max magicka, 23k max health, about 30k max stamina. Check out our recoveries, very good overall. Lots of sustain on the Arcanist, lots of cost reduction, which we'll look at in a minute. Overall good spell damage, crit chance, and about 18,000 spell and physical resistance. Of course, we've got 64 points into stamina, this being a stamina-focused Arcanist. Our food here is going to be basically anything with stamina recovery. I'm using Artaeum Takeaway Broth. You could also use Dubious Cameron Throne if you want to save a little bit of gold. But something with stamina recovery probably is your best bet. For the Mana Stone, we are using the Thief Mundus for that extra critical chance. And like you can see with all of our buffs here, this is indeed a 1-bar build. Just a very simple way to get started on the Stamina Arcanist. In terms of other consumables, you will want at least a stamina potion for your sustain. If you have access to it, tri-stat potions will be even better if you can use those. And then in terms of the race, I went again with Khajiit on this build. I think the Khajiit plays really nicely with the Arcanist class for the extra critical damage and critical healing. Arcanist already has a similar passive to this, so you're basically doubling it on the Arcanist, which is really good. Of course, you also have good max stats and recoveries as well. Of course, any damage-focused race is going to be completely fine, whether that's High Elf, Dark Elf, Orc, something like that. You can pretty much make anything work on this build, so that is up to you. Moving right along, let's talk about the gear sets. This is, like I said, a 1-bar build. It's going to be focused on dual wield. So we are using double daggers, and we're using the Order's Wrath set to start with. You can use the other set as weapons. It really doesn't matter. But since Order's Wrath is a crafted set from the High Isle chapter, pretty easy to set this up exactly with the traits that you want. So I'm using Nirnhoned on the main hand, and then Sharpened on the offhand. I've got flame damage and poison damage for the glyphs there. Remember those Arcanist passives, you do get bonus status effect damage. So you get a little bit of extra damage out of those, which is not bad. Then we're using 2 more pieces on the body. So we've got the waist and the hands, both of those in light armor, for a little bit of extra critical chance and penetration. And then finally 1 piece on the jewelry, giving us our 5-piece set. Got the robust there with weapon damage as the enchant. As far as why I picked this set, it's just a very easy to pick up all-around damage set. We have tons of critical damage on the Arcanist, so having an extra high crit chance does really pay off. So you can see tons of crit chance and even more bonus to critical damage. So this is a really good offensive set. Now, speaking of offensive sets, probably the best set, at least, easier to access, not a trial set, in terms of pumping up your damage on the Arcanist class is the classic Deadly Strike. Now, I've been using this set for years on tons of different builds, especially Templar. Templars are similar to the Arcanist with their channeled damage abilities. Basically, what this does, it increases the damage of your channeled effects and your dots by 15%. So remember, I talked about that big beam that the Arcanist has access to. That's going to be buffed by Deadly Strike. This is also going to buff the ultimate that our class has access to. So pretty much all the damage that we're doing on this build, except for just, light attacks, is going to get buffed by 15%, which is really nice. Now, this is a PvP set, comes from Cyrodiil vendors, but this is also frequently sold on guild traders, so you can buy this if you have a little bit of extra gold to spend. Now, I'm currently using this on the body, so 5 pieces here: chest, shoulders, legs, and feet, and then just 1 piece on the jewelry there. Again, weapon damage as the glyph. I got a bloodthirsty trait there as well. Just a few pieces left over. We have Slime Craw as the helmet. I've got medium there. Stamina with divines as the trait. Try to get as many divines pieces on the body as you can. Of course, 1 piece of Slime Craw does give you that nice critical chance bonus. That's why I'm running that. And then the Oaken Soul Ring, pretty standard. If you want to maximize your potential on the 1 bar build, this gives you tons of buffs that we don't have to worry about. Most of these you actually have access to on the Arcanist. So for a 2 bar build, you can get most of these buffs yourself, but to really simplify things down, make a super easy rotation, Oaken Soul is still the best way to go. So if you don't have that yet, definitely check it out. I will have a link for that guide in the description, so you can pick that up as well. So that is the setup. We have 5 pieces of Order's Wrath, 5 pieces of Deadly Strike. Run those in any slot you want. You can mix and match weights. It doesn't really matter. And then 1 piece Slime Craw with the Oaken Soul Ring. Let's jump into skills next, and I want to start by talking about our damage ability to explain how this works. So, Pragmatic Fatecarver. Like we said earlier, this is a channeled ability. It does tons of damage. 0.03 seconds is the tick, so you'll get about 3 damage ticks every 1 second. The thing about the Fatecarver, both morphs, is that if you have Crux, it increases the damage. In fact, if you have 3 Crux, it's going to give you about double damage on every tick of your Fatecarver. That is huge. That's doubling your DPS for the most part. So the thing that you want to figure out with the Arcanist is how can I gain Crux as quickly as possible in order to spend all 3 of those on my Fatecarver. That's how you're going to work this in terms of increasing your damage. So then the next question is, okay, how do you build Crux? Well, basically every other skill on our bar is a Crux builder, starting with this one, Recuperative Treaties. This comes from Herald of the Tome as well. It's your second to last ability here, and this is really just a buff for the Arcanist. It does give them Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, which we already get from the Oaken Soul Ring, so we don't need that buff. But what is really nice about this is it generates 1 Crux if you don't have any. So for the most part, this means that you will always have at least 1 Crux. As soon as you spend all 3 of your Cruxes on your Fatecarver ability, as long as you have this skill active, you'll get 1 Crux back pretty much right away, and you can start your stacks all over again. It also does some bonus damage when you do your class abilities, so that's nice as well. 30-second duration, so it's pretty easy to maintain. So that is buff number 1. That's how we get Crux number 1. Now to get Crux 2 and 3, you have some options here. For the solo build, I like running a damage shield. You guys probably saw this in my heavy attack Arcanist build as well. Chakram of Destiny is an awesome shield for the Arcanist class. This comes from Curative Rune Forms. 3rd ability here. It's a sizable shield. You can increase this with champion points as well. And when you cast this 2 times in a row, it gives you 30% bonus strength. So it goes up 30% higher. The great thing about this as well is that when you cast this, it's going to generate Crux. So here's a very easy way to get from 0 to 3 Crux. Make sure you have your Recuperative Treaties cast. That buff should be active. Then cast your shield 2 times. You already generated 3 Crux and you're good to beam. That's one way you can do it really quickly. Other way you can do it if you need healing is to use this heal. Also from Curative Rune Forms, it's called Evolving Runement. This is a very nice heal, by the way. It heals you or allies in front of you 3 times very quickly, plus a nice heal over time. And each cast of this skill generates Crux as well. Keep in mind also that all of these abilities, even though they're showing up as Magicka on the tooltip, they actually change their cost to whatever resource is highest. So this is a Stamina Arcanist build. All of these skills switch over to Stamina cost. So to generate my Crux, really what I'm doing is just combining those 3 abilities. I always have Recuperative Treaties up. If I'm at full health, I can cast my damage shield 2 times. I get an extra large shield. Or, if I need some healing, maybe I'll do 1 shield and 1 heal. Something like that. So any combination like that is going to give me to 3, and then I can just use my fully empowered beam from there. So that's kind of the solo setup. Now, I do like one other skill here. Rune of Colorless Pool. This comes from the Soldier of Apocrypha skill line. It's your last ability here, and this is a great debuff for solo and for group content. Now, minor vulnerability, that increases the damage that monsters take. Minor brittle, that increases their critical damage taken. So all in all, you have about a 15% increase to damage. Now for solo content, this is great because you don't have anybody else to apply these debuffs to a target. For group content, your tank or your healer might be running those debuffs as well, so make sure to check on that. You can always slot something else here for damage. But yeah, this is great. Plus it is a long-lasting and 8-second stun. So for more dangerous enemies, things like mages, casters, especially in solo arenas where you can get one shot by an archer, can just stun them for 8 seconds, debuff them, and then you can just pretty much vaporize them with your beam once that is ready. So really great skill. I recommend that as well. Finally, for the ultimate here, Herald of the Tome, we're going to use Tide King's Gaze. This is a really good ultimate. Does a focused beam for 8 seconds, tons of damage. And like I said, this is damage over time, so it's also getting buffed by Deadly Strike. Here's the solo rotation really quickly. Make sure your Crux buff is up. Go ahead and debuff the enemy with Colorless Pool, and then you're going to apply your shield 2 times. Once you're in that 3 Crux range, you can see Fatecarver is going to light up. Go ahead and shoot that off for your double damage. After that, you can just do 2 shields again if you want. You can see we're already up to 3 Crux. Beam again. And just make sure you're maintaining your buffs and your debuffs in between. Use your heal if you need to. And then just keep applying that beam. Of course, use your ultimate when it's ready, like that. And just keep beaming. That's pretty much it. And now that's obviously for solo content. We have a shield. We have a really strong heal. Alternating those 2 abilities is great for survival and things like VMA, Batishran Hollows. But if you want to play this with a group, obviously you probably don't need as much defensive skills. So then you can slot in some really powerful offensive abilities to increase your damage. Instead of the damage shield here, what I like to run is from Herald of the Tome. We're going to pick up your main DPS skill called Escalating Rune Blades. This is a very simple skill that generates Crux as well. Remember, we want to get to that 3 Crux as quickly as possible. And then you can use another Crux generating skill called Cephaliarch's Flail. This is the 3rd ability in Herald of the Tome. This has a unique debuff called Abyssal Ink, so all of your damage will be increased by 5%. And this does execute damage as well, scaling on enemies that are below 50% health. So you can kind of see for the group build, all we've done is we've replaced those defensive and healing skills with 2 more offensive abilities. The way the build works is still completely the same. Maintain your buff. Use your 2 other abilities to generate Crux. Once you're at 3, you go ahead and do Fatecarver. So for the group build, as always, make sure you're buffed up. Recuperative Treaties, debuff with Colorless Pool if you're going to use that. You have an extra debuff here with Flail for 5% bonus damage. Then go ahead and drop your ult and start generating Crux. Once you're at 3, same thing, Fatecarver. So as long as your buffs are up, it should only take 2 casts of your runes, and then you can do Fatecarver again right away. Make sure you're maintaining your buffs and the flail. That has a 20-second duration. But that's the only difference there. Just remember to keep up your buffs and your debuffs as they fall off, and you should be good to go. Let's check out champion points next. Pretty standard setup as far as the green tree. Gone with Steed's Blessing, followed by Treasure Hunter, Rationer, and Liquid Efficiency. Over in the blue tree, a little bit different than my previous Arcanist build. I do recommend Wrathful Strikes for this one. This is a good damage boost, as well as Thaumaturge for the dot damage, Biting Aura for the AoE damage. These are both going to apply to our Fatecarver Beam, by the way. And then the last slotted star is going to be Fighting Finesse for the extra crit damage and crit healing. Finally, for the red tree, you do have some options. I do recommend Rejuvenation, Fortified, and Boundless Vitality. Though you can probably drop Rejuvenation if you want. Now, if you have stamina sustain issues on this build, which is possible, especially in arenas, if you also have to break free a lot and a lot of dodge mechanics, you probably want to pick up Bloody Renewal for the extra stamina sustain. And if you want to play more defensive, remember you can always use Bastion, especially on the solo build, to buff those damage shields by 15%. But those are the slotted stars. If you'd like to see everything, including the passive stars, make sure to check out the written guide. I will have different loadouts there for 300, 600, 900, and 1200 CP, so no matter what level you are, should be something there for everybody. Finally, for the outfit style, if you're curious, combination of a few different sets here. We've got Ancestral Akaviri style for the helmet, and then most of the body pieces, I believe, is this one, Ifri's Will from Earthen Root Enclave. That's in light armor. All right, everybody, with that said, that's going to wrap up this 1-bar Stamina Arcanist build for the Elder Scrolls Online Necrom chapter. Hope you guys found this one enjoyable. If you did, make sure to crush that like button. It absolutely helps out the channel. As always, there will be a written guide, link for that down in the description and the pinned comment. Over there, I'll go over things like alternate gear sets, all of the different skill loadouts for solo and group play, as well as any important passives that you need for the Arcanist, and of course, the champion point loadout for 300, 600, 900, and 1200 CP. So there will be something there for everybody, no matter what level you are. More Arcanist builds and guides are on the way, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And if you'd like to support the channel further, we also have a YouTube membership with lots of great bonuses and perks, like early access to videos, our members-only build library, members-only Discord, and a lot more. So if that sounds good to you, just check out that join button down below for more information. Huge shout out, as always, for our channel members that make this content possible. Y'all are amazing. Thanks so much. And thanks to all of you for watching this video. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next one.